Time for more Sage front office insights as the winter meetings is underway in Dallas. J.J. Picollo has done great work with the Royals in the still very brief run he's had as their general manager. 2+ years into the job. They were a postseason team last year. J.J., good morning. Thanks for taking some time with us. How are you?
Doing great, guys. How you doing?
We're doing great. We appreciate your time, and we've got a lot to ask you about regarding your club and how you made that great step to go from last to first, et cetera. But we have to ask you on this day about the market in general and everybody reacting to the very large number that Juan Soto signed for to go to the Mets. Just big picture, how do you see this market, and how do you see it changing now given the news that we learned of last night?
Well, I think the great thing about this is the market's going to move faster. Last year at this time, we were trying to figure out where everything was going to go, and it really took deep into the offseason to figure it all out. But now with Soto being off the board and other guys being off the board, I think we can move forward and things will become a little bit more clear.
So, J.J., good morning, first of all. I should be proper in saying good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Hey, let me ask you about the board, your board. As the season ends, you got in the postseason. Now you want to take that next step. Where does that process start to get you to where you're at now and what you're looking for?
Well, I think when we look back on the 24 season, the strength of our club really was our starting rotation. So our offseason really began by trying to re-sign Michael Wacha, which we were able to do pretty early on before he became a free agent. So we felt really good about our rotation. We felt like we had depth. And then when we tried to look on the other side of the ball at our offense, one of the things we really lacked was guys that can get on base, and particularly somebody in the leadoff spot. So that's where our sights went to the Reds with Jonathan India, and we were able to use some of our depth. And as difficult as it was to move Brady Singer, we did have depth, and we have some guys we think can fill in the 4 and 5 spot in our rotation. So it was a little bit more of a clear path for us to make that move for Jonathan and, put ourselves in a pretty good spot. They were number 1 and number 2 for us this offseason. We were able to accomplish that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I want to go back even last year. You transformed this organization in one offseason. I mean, it changed the whole course of where you guys are headed. So when did that start for you? Was it the summer before when you took over as the job and you started looking at it, or you've been in the organization for a while? When did that start for you?
Well, it was really in the middle of the 23 season. We realized that our pitching staff was just not deep enough to compete at the level that we wanted to compete. So just working with our entire front office, our owner, John Sherman, we talked about ways to improve our rotation. And a lot of it was going to have to be through free agency. So we went into the offseason with a clear goal in mind, and that was to sign 2 starting pitchers. When we left the winter meetings last year, we were unsuccessful in doing so. So we turned our sights to the bullpen, signed a few relievers early on, and then it just sort of snowballed. After that, we were able to explain to the free agents, this is what our vision is, and now it was on to starting pitching and a couple bats, and it came together pretty quickly. And I think the excitement, the belief in our club really started, even before we got into spring training, and they're all wonderful guys, great clubhouse guys. They all had experience in the playoffs, and when you are around those players and they know what it takes to win, it was pretty clear that this club was going to be pretty determined to have a great season and move into the playoffs.
J.J., I want to ask you about one transformative move or a couple of moves that were related that you pulled off kind of early on the job. But when you went out and signed Aroldis Chapman in January of 23 to a 1-year deal and then turned him into a really good starting pitcher and a Cy Young candidate the following deadline.
Cole Ragans.
And Cole Ragans, yeah, thank you for clarifying. At what point in that process was that plan even in your brain? Were you thinking at the moment you signed him, hey, this could work out. If we're not in it, we turn this into something else? And then when do you identify the target for the trade? Like, walk us through that whole episode.
Yeah, well, it was in the winter meetings of 22 that our scouts were recommending that we sign Aroldis. He was coming off a tough year in New York, and we were looking for guys that maybe could rebound and have value at the trade deadline. we knew we were in somewhat of a rebuild going into that season, and we were going to look to sign a few free agents that could potentially lead to us making trades at the deadline. And that one worked out obviously very nicely for us and very nicely for Texas. They won the World Series. We were able to get Cole Ragans and move forward. So there was the thought that when we signed Aroldis, we were the right type of team for him to rebound. And then if he was doing what he's capable of doing, we would be able to turn him into something. Never in our wildest imagination would we think it's an all-star Cy Young Award type of pitcher that Cole's turned into, but we certainly are excited about that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Hey, I want to finish it with this. You know, I had you guys beating the Yankees. I thought that you were a bad matchup for them. I thought you matched up really well with them. So you lose the series, season comes to a halt. What were some of the tough conversations but inspiring conversations as you head to this season?
Well, there's that initial disappointment. You know, when you get to the playoffs, regardless of what others may think about our team, we believe that we had a team that could move on to the World Series, and we thought we could win games that maybe other teams couldn't, using our athleticism, playing good defense. We thought we had deep enough pitching to go deep into the playoffs. You know, quite honestly, we just didn't hit enough when we were playing the Yankees, and you know, they were a good club. Obviously, they went on to the World Series. But what it does do after you get through that disappointment of not winning, you know, you're sort of more excited, more hungry. You know, our guys are already talking about how do we build off of what we did in 24, and they weren't happy with the end result. They believe we should have went further, and that should be a great motivator for us moving into 25.
Well, congrats on a great year in 2024. I know that from where Harold and I sit, knowing what a great baseball market Kansas City is, you and your group really resurrecting the brand there. Tip of the cap to what you guys have done, and we wish you continued success there, JJ. Thanks for the visit.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.